Sup, everyone? Happy Wednesday. Good morning. Thanks for hanging with us on YouTube. Darian Jenkins, Sandra Herrera, I'm Lisa Carlin. We've got a freaking great Wednesday show for you. If you're with us on YouTube, hey, thanks for hanging. Like this video, subscribe to our page, and join the combo in the chat. Ask us questions. We want to hear your comments on what we're talking about today. If you think Darian's wearing a kit, guess which one it is. Let us know everything in the chat. D, what's up? Thanks for joining us. This is awesome.
Guys, thanks for having me. It's like Wednesday's the new Friday. This is lit. Happy Wednesday. It's a party.
I woke up so jazzed because I was like, yes, we got Darian on the midweek show today. It's gonna get good. It's gonna get good today.
I know.
Guys, I'm honored. You got me 2 weeks in a row.
I know. It was a special little treat for us on Monday, D, when you were like, I think I'm with you on Wednesday. And Sandra, I love hanging just you and me. I mean, nothing will change that. But when D was like, I'm in, I was like, let's freaking rock and roll.
I'm honored.
That. Let's dive into it. Don't go anywhere, guys. We've got a great attacking third coming for you. What's up, everyone? Welcome into Attacking Third special Wednesday episode. Usually, it's just Sandra Herrera and myself, Lisa Carlin. Today, we're rocking with a third. Darian Jenkins is joining the show. D, welcome in. How are you?
Guys, thank you. It's lit. This made my Wednesday. Woke up with a little more pep in my step. Worked out extra early. I'm hyped. I'm feeling good for the show. I like that we're doing some what you guys have been doing with the recaps of the previous finals of the NWSL.
Yeah, it is great. We are doing that. We're continuing our Countdown to Kansas City segments. This week, it is the 2022 NWSL Final. We have a mailbag. So thanks, everyone, for submitting your questions for us. Sandra and I spoke to Gotham head coach Juan Carlos Amorós. So we'll give you a little sneak peek of that interview. And then, of course, in case you missed it, filling you in on everything that has happened. Sandra, I always hang with you on Wednesdays. So it is great to see your face again. How you doing, bud?
I'm hyped for this episode. Yes, mainly it's because Darian is here with us, and it's usually just a duo, but love that we're putting the three back in A3 and getting Darian on the midweek show with us today. But I'm also just really excited for all the stuff that we're going to run through. Like, I got excited again just hearing you talk about what we've got in store for the episode.
A subtle little sprinkle of putting the 3 back in A3. Yeah, that was like the original mojo of this, like 3 years ago?
Was it? You guys were supposed to have a third?
I mean, that was like the concept. Like when I threw it out there, like, what if we were like attacking third? We'd always have a third component, and there'd be like it's like we're like it's so funny, like going back into those like brainstorming sessions. But here we are.
Now you know.
You occasionally get the third.
Yeah. Sometimes it's 4 or 5. Why not?
The trivia question of the year. Why is attacking third called attacking third? Well, there's supposed to be 3 of us. But then it was just Sandra and I.
Yeah.
And we loved it. I think, honestly, Sandra, that's what also makes our Countdown to Kansas City segment today that much more special because of the A3 component, because we are counting down and revisiting the 2022 NWSL Final between Portland Thorns and Kansas City Current. This was Attacking Third's second ever official coverage of an NWSL championship. And the first one, Sandra, where we got to be on location and we did a live show before the final at the Fan Fest. Do you remember that? It was freezing.
Oh my gosh. No, it was cool. It was cool. Good. It was like a real tone setter. Like we had people coming through and doing interviews with folks and just
Karina LeBlanc join us. Chat.
Like, it's just like we had the Longs came on at one point. Berman spent some time with us, and honestly, like just incredible fans, like incredible people who just like love NWSL, who love women's soccer, just coming through and showing love.
It was really cool to meet people and them to be like, I watch you guys all the time. And if you're still hanging with us, thanks, guys. We love you. Thanks for joining us. Let's talk 2022 NWSL Final. Portland Thorns against the Kansas City Current. It's no spoiler because it happened years ago. Portland wins 2-0 over Kansas City. This match happened at Audi Field in Washington, D.C. It was the first game in prime time on CBS, 8 p.m. kickoff on Saturday, October 29th. And because of all the jazz and the continual growth of women's soccer, over 17,600 fans in attendance at this game. And 2022 was a very interesting year because we had Angel City and San Diego joining the league as new expansion sides that year. And San Diego set a precedent for expansion sides. They finished third in the standings that year. They also had the number 1 draft pick, defender Naomi Girma, who ended up winning Rookie of the Year and Defender of the Year. They had goalkeeper, Canadian international Kaylin Sheridan, who won Goalkeeper of the Year, and their head coach, Casey Stoney, won Coach of the Year. Plus, San Diego held the number 1 spot in the standings for 11 straight weeks in 2022. And their forward, Alex Morgan, won the Golden Boot at 15 goals. So San Diego came onto the scene in 2022 and absolutely made a splash. Some other fun nuggets about this 2022 year. Juan Carlos Amorós started his first games in the NWSL as an interim head coach with Houston Dash and led them to their first ever playoff appearance. And then it's extra special because Dee's here with us. And you played this year with Orlando. What do you remember about 2022?
I did. Oh, I mean, it was a fun year of like expansion teams. Like there's so much change. The competition just got deeper. I also knew that I was likely gonna retire, so I was really just trying to have fun with it. Had too much fun at the final. Actually was so hungover I didn't end up going to the game because I was like, this is going to be a time with my friends. I had told them I was planning to retire. So the lead up to the match was really fun. I did watch the match just from my hotel room with some friends who I shall not name that did all not make the final.
CBS, baby.
But it was just a really good year. A lot of competition. I mean, lots of players bursting onto the scene, and just to see the sellout, how many people were now following along to women's soccer just made my heart so happy. This is something we've been wanting for a long time, and obviously it's excelled, but this year felt so special, especially in DC.
Let's run through how Portland and Kansas City got there. I touched on it a little bit, but at the end of the regular season, OL Reign, they clinched the Shield, 11 wins, 4 draws, 11 losses. And they snagged that Shield win on the very last day from Portland, who just sat 1 point behind them in the second spot, 10 wins, 9 draws, and 3 losses. San Diego Wave finished third, a record of 10-6-6. Houston Dash, they finished fourth, their first ever playoff appearance, also 10-6-6 record, behind San Diego on goal differential. Kansas City, also 10 wins, 6 draws, 6 losses. So crazy that San Diego, Houston, and Kansas City all finished on 36 points, but it came down to goal differential, and the current finished 5th. I'm just going to say it to you, Orlando team, they finished 10th this year. I'm giving some love to you in Orlando.
Or doing me dirty like that.
Oh, I'm giving you some love. Come on, it's all love, no hate. For Portland Thorns, they finished second, and they had forward Sophia Smith with 14 goals on the year, just behind Golden Boot winner Alex Morgan by a goal. They also had midfielder Yasmin Ryan, 5 assists, third best in the league, and goalkeeper Bella Bigsby, who led the league with 9 clean sheets. Meanwhile, for Kansas City, midfielder Lo Labonta, she led the team with 7 goals and 4 assists. Neither of those really hitting the top marks in the league. But for Kansas City, this was a turnaround year for them, considering they made it to the playoffs. When we think about, Sandra, the playoffs, the first round and the top 2 teams, Portland and OL Reign, getting a bye, and then the semifinals, what do you remember about the playoff run here for these teams?
Kind of exciting and also kind of, I hate to be like predictable, but I think when we're in what at the time was year 2 of an expanded playoff format, you have the teams that had kind of separated themselves a little bit, which is why I think for Kansas City's run, it made it so exciting, because you had that kind of lower seed eventually knock out a number 1 seed, the Shield winners. And those are the storylines when you get to knockout round football that you look for, that you hope for, especially if you're neutral, like you're rooting for that chaos. And the current kind of gave that to us a little bit. And it was also, I think, really indicative of just sort of like where we saw teams and their trajectory, to look at Kansas City and see them go from, bottom of the table to a run through the playoffs. It almost sort of felt a little bit ahead of schedule because we'd heard so much about the vision of what Kansas City and the Current were trying to do and what they were trying to build for their franchise. And then you have a Portland side that maybe kind of smashed some narratives of their own with that expanded playoff format, knowing that maybe the bye week was or wasn't going to come into a play. And it didn't matter for a team like the Thorns just because of how they were built and how they were stacked. And really this effort to kind of build around each other. Because in our last episode where we talked about the 2021 final, Lisa, we talked about a lot of the chaos that was happening, and affecting players off of the pitch. There was a lot of noise outside, and there was a bit of that continued in 2022 as well, especially when you're looking at the franchise that made it to the final with the Thorns specifically. All of these different ownership changes, other playoff teams as well. When you look at Chicago Red Stars, who were involved in that too. So I thought this was another unique kind of playoff run experience. And players definitely bought in to kind of give us a really good playoff round and then a good final as well.
The first round of the playoffs saw Kansas City take on Houston Dash. The Current won 2-1, goals from Lola Bonta and then Kate Del Fava in the 10th minute of stoppage time. Sophie Schmidt got the lone goal for the Dash. Then in the second round, Kansas City, they took down OL Reign, the Shield winners, 2-0. It was a shutout win in Seattle. Goals in the opening 5 minutes from Alex Lueta and then Kristen Hamilton in the 63rd get the 2 goals for Kansas City. And Portland Thorns, they earn a come-from-behind 2-1 win over expansion side San Diego Wave. Taylor Korniak, now Taylor Flint, she scored in the opening 8 minutes, and then Rocky Rodriguez and Crystal Dunn scored the game-winning goal for Portland. That was her first goal since coming back from motherhood. So it set up the final perfectly. Kansas City against Portland Thorns in Washington, D.C. Darian, why don't you take us through Portland Thorns and how they lined up for the 2022 NWSL Final?
Oh my gosh, I would love to. Me doing the lineups. I wasn't expecting this, Lisa. It's wild to look back on the starting lineups because the teams have changed so much. Bella Bixby in the back, who we haven't seen her play. She's obviously been pregnant this season. Klingenberg, Sauerbrunn, Hubley, Kuika, who's now at Chicago. Shout out Sandra, Chicago. What did we call you? Chicagoan? Chicagoan? I can't remember. Easy Rodriguez in the Rocket Rodriguez in the midfield with Coffey and Sinclair. That is stacked. And then Weaver, Smith, and Ryan. A threat up top. This was such a dynamic Portland team. I think they just had this perfect gel with each other. This is where I think Yasmin Ryan really finally was started to get the credibility that she has deserved for quite some time. And I think she really just got it in the semifinal and then the final. And this is why Gotham ended up trading for her. But this was a stellar starting lineup and a team that was so hard to beat. And this was also Smith's kind of villain era. This is the start of her showing she doesn't give an F. Watch me come out and score. So I like that she had a chip on her shoulder going into this game, and we obviously got the goals to see it.
I think Portland also had a chip, considering they lost out on the Shield, right? In the final match day, they had a chance to win it and they lost, which allowed Seattle to sneak in there and get it. But yeah, it was Sophia Smith's villain era. We saw that in the opening minutes of this match. But Sandra, take us through Kansas City Current and their starting 11 for the final.
Yeah, this is how the Current rolled out. They had Adi Franch in net, Kristen Edmonds, Elizabeth Ball, Addison Merrick, and Haley Mace, Desiree Scott, Alex Loera, Kate Del Fava, Kristen Hamilton, Lola Bonta, and Cece Kaiser to round out their starting 11. Good lineup here. I think with what we saw from them throughout the season and then throughout their playoff push, you look at this team and you say these are players that are capable and can really go out there and shake things up. They had a mix of players who this was their first time there in the moment, but they also had a cluster of players that had been to the final before, whether it was Franch or Hamilton. So when you looked at these two head to heads, you're like, okay, we're going to get a good game here. But there were stretches of it that maybe didn't necessarily feel that way.
It's all funny to look back and be like, yes. Kansas really been trying to make fetch happen with the 3-4-3.
Yeah.
It did not even when I was at Kansas City, which obviously can we never go back to reviewing that season, but it didn't work. It wasn't working. And it's funny that even in this
you gotta
final,
call it like you see it. And we
Yeah.
saw it and it wasn't working.
Despite Casey having some of these players that had won a lot before, and they had this underdog mentality that had given them a great ride throughout the regular season, even throughout the playoffs, right? Taking down the Shield winners in Seattle. It was very evident in the opening 5 minutes, let's just say, that Portland Thorns had been here before. And when you've been in a championship final before and you have the personnel with a chip on your shoulder in Sophia Smith, a young player who wants to prove herself because she was in the mix for MVP talk and she didn't end up winning it. And people were like, why would she be the MVP? And then she scores in the opening 4 minutes of this final, and we get the super iconic meme celebration of the question mark hands where she's like, yeah, come at me, see what you're missing, all surrounding the MVP chatter in 4 minutes. It felt like, oh, this is a Portland side that is just going to dominate throughout.
I just loved it because she came out like this. To me was like, what you gonna say now? Yep. I don't hear you now. What are you on the field? What you want to complain now that I don't deserve MVP? Who else is doing what I'm doing? Yep. I loved it. Sophia Smith villain era, the start of it, the glimpses that we see now. I want to see more of this from her in her current game. But I think Portland came out showing they're not here to play. Watch us. If I'm Portland and I'm looking at this game and I'm one of the players and I'm pre-game speech, whatever it's going to be, is watch us slice and dice you. Watch us dominate this 3-back that you're very bold to play. And they did. At opening minutes, to have that slip ball perfectly through to Sophia Smith. She dribbles around AD French, who was having a great season, and just slots it home. And I think it set the tone for the game. I don't think Kansas City had enough to muster a response to actually put Portland on their heels at any moment. I mean, Portland just kept looking dangerous, but this moment, iconic, and it set the tone for the entire game.
Yeah,
it set 100%. The tone. Yeah.
I just remember taking this in like in the press box with you, Lisa. Like it's giving me like the flashback. We were like sitting next to each other and we were like, oh no. Like we just like you saw it happen, this quick breakaway from Soph Smith, and it just you knew it was gonna be money. Man, like you knew it was going to be money in the bank because of just the incredible season that she had. And she was motivated, but Darian's 100% correct. I remember all that chatter too. Like Naomi Girma had such a great season that folks thought maybe she would run away with MVP along with rookie and defender. You know, Alex Morgan being the Golden Boot winner in that year and having all the notoriety. Like surely she was going to get, you know, all of those, you know, votes. And maybe there were some folks that felt that the MVP going Smith's way slighted others who had maybe better seasons, but it didn't matter. And she played motivated by that. You could see it in the way that they went out there. And it just, what a way to start the game. It just was one of those things where it came so early. It didn't matter how much time was left. It didn't matter that it happened in the opening 5 minutes. It literally was like, oh, that just happened. It's too late now. Like, it doesn't
there
matter.
It is. The amazing Selly, producer Mark threw it up on the screen now. It's so good. Morgan Weaver draped all over her. 4 minutes in, guys, 4 minutes in. There was still, what's the math? 86 minutes left to play in this match. Kansas City could not come back for it. Ultimately, at the start of the second half, 56th minute, an own goal is scored by Kansas City to give Portland Thorns the 2-0 lead. The stats for this game, I didn't remember this until rereading it and rewatching some of it. Kansas City didn't have a single shot on target during this game. They didn't even stand a chance.
Yeah,
they did not even stand a chance. Pretty rough. Ultimately, Sophia Smith, she wins the MVP of the match, so she becomes a dual MVP of the 2022 season, winning league MVP and final MVP for her iconic goal, iconic celebration, and all the work that she put into that 2022 season for Portland Thorns. And they lift the trophy for the third time in club history. So exciting to see as confetti rained down. Sandra, we've talked a little bit about the evolution of these finals from 2013 to 2022. This one felt as big as it needed to.
Yeah, we've talked a lot over the course of this series and in recapping all of the finals about like the vibe check and how we could literally like tangible things that you could see and feel in the difference. And this one felt like we've arrived type of energy. Like there was a lot of pomp and circumstance, as there should be in an event that is supposed to be the defining event for the NWSL. It finally felt that way from the facility. We got our first taste of a rowdy outy. All of the events that took place in the lead up to the weekend, the prime time slot for CBS, and the two teams that were involved as well, because they had their share of superstars in this one. And you could see it throughout all of the imaging of that weekend that you're like, this is the event that you don't want to miss when it comes to NWSL.
Except Darian, she missed it.
No,
anyway, Portland Thorns.
I did have fun.
She was there, and she was like,
I did
yeah.
celebrate. I did celebrate with the players and did not go to the match.
Oh gosh, it's absolutely hilarious. Portland Thorns, they win 2-0 over Kansas City Current in the 2022 final. Countdown is on to Kansas City, November 23rd, CPKC Stadium. Who will it be? 4 teams remain in the NWSL playoffs. You can watch that game 8 p.m. Eastern kickoff on CBS and Paramount Plus, and buy your tickets. Get to the game. We'll see you guys there in KC. Don't go anywhere. We have a mailbag segment coming up next. Stick with us. Mailbag time. Welcome back to Attacking Third. We've got an A3 mailbag, so thanks for submitting your questions. If you have questions for us, hit us up at Attacking Third across socials, and we'll answer them for you. So let's go question number 1. Thanks so much to Kadic9432 for submitting this question for us. How do you think the U.S. women's national team roster will look in a year when they have no big tournaments, larger friendly rosters, more variation at each international window? This is a big question, Sandra. What do you got for Kadic?
Yeah, where do I think the roster is going to go from here? I think with Emma Hayes in charge, sky's the limit, right? Limits the sky. It could go nearly anywhere. I think that's actually a benefit to the program and the next steps that they're going to take. We're already hearing constantly from Emma Hayes about the processes and preparations for the 2027 to 2028 cycle. So I would imagine that without the quote unquote big tournaments, that still means there's going to be your international windows and think like your typical sort of things that are in place like that. But maybe that means there's even more freedom that we're kind of anticipating when it comes to naming those types of rosters. U.S. Women's National Team program hasn't been shy in the past, no matter who was in charge of like maybe naming a little bit of a bigger roster at times, like maybe there's a game day where you have to name 23, but you're calling in 26 or 27 players. I don't think that changes going forward. And I think that maybe if the recipe has already revealed itself, we're going to see even more international debuts, because something that happened in even the buildup to Emma Hayes' arrival as head coach is that tons of players earned their first national team caps. They've made their first starts or first debuts. They did it in that 9-month interim period with Twyla Kilgore by design. Hayes wanted to get more players, more looks. And when she came into the mix in June, we continued to see that with Lily Yohannes, and we're still going to continue to see that, I think, moving forward, especially in this type of 2-year window before the next cycle.
Sandra, you mentioned all the first-time call-ups from the 2023 Women's World Cup. Since that ended until this last international window, we have seen 16 players earn new caps for the U.S. Women's National Team. 16 across all position lines, even in goal, right? Mandy Haught earning her first cap in goal.
That's nearly a whole other game day roster, like right there. Like,
yeah,
players. That's insane. What do you think, Dee? How could it look different in a year, the roster?
I think it could change a lot. There's a couple players that I think are kind of on the cusp of how we're talking about, Megan Rapinoe a couple years back, Alex Morgan this last year, that this could be kind of the beginning of some change. And I like it. I'm here for the competition. I'm here for the different style of play. I love that some of these younger players especially are playing in Europe and are bringing a different style, different cadence to the game that I think really appeals to Emma Hayes and her style of play. So I love it. The competition aspect, the depth, the different types of players that maybe never would have gotten looks before, like an Emma Sears. I think 5 years ago, Emma Sears, she's not starting every single game on her club team and scoring over 10 goals, is not getting a call up to the national team. And Hayes has completely revamped the way that players are called in. So I'm here for it. Let's see some more competition in all of these positions.
A lot of youth, a lot more first-time call-ups, hopefully some bigger rosters so that she can do that all in one mix. Okay, question number 2 from the Rumble Wagon. Is Lily Yohannes guaranteed a spot on the U.S. women's national team, or will she need to earn her spot just like any other player? This comes after the 17-year-old just announced that she is going to commit for the U.S. She had the opportunity to play for the Netherlands or for the U.S. D, what do you think?
I mean, no spot is guaranteed. There's nothing guaranteed about a position on the U.S. national team. Also, the sun is crazy right now coming through my window. I can't get up and adjust it. But I do think it's so promising for her, knowing that Hayes has come out and said, well, we really hope we get her. We just don't want to pressure her. There's so much media around her. We're talking about her. I think every women's soccer show has spoken about how big of an asset she would be to this national team. And we only saw a glimpse of what she can do when she came in and played and scored, had these brilliant through slip passes, especially to Trinity Rodman. She's playing deep in the 6. Her savviness, calmness on the ball. I think she definitely is a big threat to anybody else that is in that position, I would say, because I don't think anybody has the same qualities she has, especially just at 17 years old. It's scary to think of how she's going to be in the next 2 years.
June 24, she was 16. That's when she got her first cap and first goal for the U.S. And that's it. Okay, question number 3. Megan Rogers, 05G. She says, should U.S. youth programs be doing anything differently given how the global game is evolving? Sandra, I'm going to let you run with this one.
I don't know if I have a whole lot on this one, if I'm being frank, especially when we're coming off of a question that just talks about Lily Yohannes. I think that's a very unique situation for her. This is a player that's very, very young, found herself in the Netherlands, started training with players in Ajax over there, and now we're eventually going to get to see her called into camps and probably see her more frequently. And then when you look at the cycles that we are just witnessing for like the U17 levels, the U20 levels, back-to-back bronze medal finishes, like these are areas in which we're looking at our youth national team landscape, and their trajectory is trending upward. It's not flat or downward, where maybe the argument was perhaps a decade ago, perhaps a cycle ago, that there were some concerns around that. I think that there's been a shift here. I think for now, it sort of feels like it's trending in the right direction. So I don't know if you maybe tip the scales and try to, cause some ripples in the water, but we should always, make sure that above all else, that this game is accessible to our youth in this country. Yeah. I think that's always going to be the biggest thing for me.
Hands down. I think Emma Hayes has talked about it as well, wanting to get the senior national team to steady their ship. She did that. She won gold, but then also having a ripple down effect to all the youth programs. You think about in Spain, every single team plays the same way, from their youth national teams to their senior national teams, so players can plug and play. I think education, frankly, through the U.S. system is so necessary, so players can understand different positional awareness and roles in different formations under different tactics. And it almost like starts mentally and educationally. That way you can pull up a player from U17 and plug them on the senior national team, and it's not a huge adjustment. We'll see how that continues to evolve. Question number 4 from Carmina Caballes, 8453. How do you think women's college soccer will continue to change in this environment, and how will it affect professional leagues? Darian, what do you think?
How do I think women's soccer, collegiate soccer, is going to affect professionally? I think there's going to have to be some adjustment in college soccer. I mean, Lisa, you can attest to this as well. I was jacked in college. There's this weird sort of American football mentality. I think collegiate female soccer coaches and kind of fitness programs have that isn't that effective. I think also the length of the season, the kind of how one-dimensional college soccer can be isn't the biggest asset going pro. That's why I think some of the players that have adjusted more smoothly to the league didn't stay fully for their collegiate careers. I think there's going to have to be a big adjustment, similar to what we were saying with how the U.S. women's national team and the youth programming around U.S. soccer is going to have to alter so that it is a little bit more seamless. There is a sort of protocol or basic principles that we're following so that this can be funneled into the national team and professionally. But yeah, that's kind of a tough question. I'm not really sure. I think we're.
Do you think
Go
like
ahead,
the
Lisa.
level of collegiate soccer might change considering there's no draft? So players don't have to wait to graduate. They don't have to wait to be 18 to enter. You can just sign.
Yeah, I like it. I think it makes it much more competitive. Like college soccer will have to level up. It's not going to be the same 8 teams that you expect to see at the college final, the championship leading up to playoffs every single year. I think it's definitely going to create more depth. I do think there's going to be a weird time that we're going to be approaching though, without the draft, without something to look into. Yeah.
4 years, that'll be like really funky for collegiate soccer. Yeah, Darian, I was husky in college.
It doesn't translate well. Never lifted heavy pro.
It's so funny.
Maybe in the off season, which is 2 months.
No, it's
weird.
It was rough.
No, like I was diesel up in
I was jacked. Okay. Danielle Ferretti, she has given us a question. Are there any players that you're excited about playing collegiate soccer right now? Sandra, we've got the NCAA tournament starting this week. The first round is on Friday. Who should we watch?
Yeah, College Cup, baby. No, I love how the transition from the last question to this one, because yes, collegiate soccer is gonna have to definitely build itself up, especially with NWSL getting rid of the draft, something like USL Super League that's in existence. There's just all these different channels for players to navigate their soccer careers and make choices to how they want to look. So with the College Cup coming up, look, I've been high on this player for a while. I pretty sure I had her even on one of my mock drafts, even though I was pretty sure she wasn't going to declare. But Lexi Missimo out of Texas is a player that I've really enjoyed watching in her collegiate career. Got to give a shout out to UCLA for Darian and Lily Real as well. But I get a lot of access to Big Ten soccer from where I'm at and the cable packages that I have. So any of the Big Ten players who have done a lot of fun stuff this year, I'm always going to keep an eye on. So they've all been different in different ways. They've all affected things, and I'm looking forward to maybe some upsets as well in the College Cup. I wouldn't be surprised if Kayla McBean from Penn State maybe gets even more kind of notoriety around her. So I think that's part of the beautiful thing about how we're going to see the collegiate landscape shift a little bit. It's maybe not going to be your usual suspects, right? The Stanfords, the North Carolinas. I think they'll always be powerhouses.
The UCLAs.
We're the UCLAs, of course. Yeah, we're gonna continue to see that especially as the collegiate landscape expands as well. Like the Big Ten doesn't even look like what it used to anymore.
Ugh, so, don't even get me started. I hate UCLA's in the Big Ten. It doesn't sound right. It doesn't look right. What are we doing over there?
Get out there in the snow. Go play.
Yeah, what? They're in freaking LA. This isn't right. I love that you gave Lily Real a shout. She's one of the most exciting players to me because her game actually reminds me a lot of Emily Sam's. I like seeing a former forward in the back line who's not afraid to break lines with her dribbling abilities. She's not afraid to play daring passes. She gets up into the attack. She's also a big hitter. Like this player's 5'9". She's really, really physical. I think she changes the game for UCLA, and I think that's one of the players I'm really looking forward to. Hopefully she goes to play pro in the NWSL, and we can really watch her here. But she's a really exciting player to me.
Yep. NCAA
Yep.
tournament starts on Friday. The number 1 seeds, Duke and USC, Southern California. Number 2 seeds, Wake Forest and UCLA. I'll give that one to you, D. Okay, question number 6. Pardox28. Was expanding the playoffs to 8 teams a mistake, or does having the top 2 teams play in a quarterfinals actually benefit them? Darian, thoughts on expanded playoffs?
I for sure thought you were going to go. You should go to Sandra on this, because the one time I logged on to Twitter, I saw a couple Sandra tweets that made me laugh out loud.
One thing I do is I post through it for sure. I think the answer to both those, it's a 2-parter, right? So I think the answer to both those questions is yes. Actually, I think there's space to hold for all of it. I think we saw it going into this first year of 8 playoff teams, that there were 4 teams who were there and ready to go, and 4 teams who got in, and you saw the stark differences. So I'm here for it. We want to have that excitement. I think with a future expansion, maybe that 8-team concept will get a little bit more exciting. This first year was a little flat for me. And then I think we just recapped the Portland Thorns winning the 2022 final. The bye week obviously did not affect them. So the answer to both those are kind of yes.
2 things can be true at once. Yes and yes. Guys, thanks for submitting your questions. I loved this. We really enjoyed it. If you've got more questions, hit us up at Attacking Third and ask us. We'll keep them coming. Don't go anywhere, though. We've got Gotham head coach Juan Carlos Amorós, a little sneak peek of our interview with him. Hey everyone, welcome back to Attacking Third. Yesterday, Sandra and I got to speak with Gotham head coach Juan Carlos Amorós. The full interview is available on YouTube and as a podcast, but take a listen to this clip real quick.
A googlear Juan Carlos Amorós. The Wikipedia starts at like 2011. And I know there's a story for you before then.
Yeah.
So dime la historia. What's the story of Juan Carlos getting into coaching maybe before 2011?
Bueno, I'm just, it's something I always take a lot of pride. I don't come from, a football family. Like we had a small business of construction, and, I always love with my dad, my grandma, and I always love football. So I always, like any kid, I play as much as I could, and play not only on the pitch, but video games. So I was watching games in the neighborhood, in the stadiums. And then suddenly at 15 years old, I got the opportunity to coach my little brother's team. And from that moment, I coached, played everywhere I could, everything that I could do with football. I was doing it because it was my passion. And it kind of went from there. I tried to be a player, and I kind of made it in Scotland and in Holland. And by then I discovered the love for coaching and different cultures. I think one thing that you understand from football when you've lived like in many countries as I have, like in Scotland, Holland, England, the US, I've traveled with Tottenham, a lot of countries like China, Denmark, like you understand how football is part of the community in every part of the world. And I love people. So that's what, once I started to get paid more for coaching than for playing, that's the truth. Like I stopped playing, and then in 2011 is probably where I came to America, and there I started to work and discover a little more about the women's game. And when I came back to Tottenham, I was working obviously with Karen with the women's side, and the rest is kind of where Wikipedia starts, no? So yeah, it's definitely another Juan. No, another Juan is the same Juan. I am a big believer that humans, we are built of our own experiences, and it made me who I am. And I'm very proud of my journey. And yeah, that's a little bit of the story in a couple of minutes.
So we got the update pre-Wikipedia to what Juan Carlos Amorós was up to. Sandra broke out her Spanish. Don't worry, she did switch back to English for the other parts of it. But this is so good. Darian, perhaps your first time hearing something like that or hearing our interview, what'd you take from Juan Carlos Amorós? I can't hear anyone, so I don't know if you guys can hear me. I couldn't hear Sandra.
Sorry,
earlier.
there I am. Can you hear me now?
Guys, yeah.
My bad. I love when we get to interview coaches, and especially someone like Juan Carlos, who's also a friend. I'm bummed I never got to play under him, but it humanizes them in a way that I think we don't get to see or hear often. And hearing how he fell in love with the game, and also him being able to travel the world and really see that this is why soccer is the world sport, and his love for it, and that he started to get paid and decided to jump into coaching. Like, that's hilarious and so true and very real. So I loved hearing that little clip. I can't wait to see the rest of it. You guys did a good job. And I love hearing Sandra switch between languages. I think that's so freaking impressive.
She's so
my boy. I had to do it for my boy.
I love it. Yeah, it was really cool to chat to Juan Carlos Amorós. Well, good thing you're in Lefty. We're giving you another little clip right now to take a listen to. Here you go. Makes a difference on your team. That's what has allowed you to have so much success. However, we always know that there's players that we're not talking about enough. So when you listen to Attacking Third or the media, who aren't we giving enough love to on your team?
Well, I think maybe, I think it's everyone that goes there always end up performing at such a high level. Obviously now there was players at the beginning of the year that maybe they weren't playing at all, like Ella, that now is obviously done fantastically well. Players that maybe weren't playing at the beginning of the last year, like Neely or Delaney, that maybe don't get mentioned enough. But then I was very surprised when I saw the nominations for some of the best players in the league, and I didn't see we are the best team defending in the league. We have no defenders. I think Emily Sonnet's performance this year, for me, honestly, she's been the best defender in the league. I don't know if there is maybe Delaney and Ilian have played a lot of minutes, but how is Rose Lavelle in that group of the 5 best midfielders in the league? Maybe I'm watching a different game, but she's been outstanding for us, so. But we don't really care about that, we don't really care about the recognition individually. We want the team to be recognized. The best way to be recognized as a team is winning the championship again. I think every player is performing at such a high level that for me it's very difficult, honestly, to choose between who of them is going to play. We have players now performing at that standing level like Mandy Freeman, or it's very difficult, because then we have Jenna Swanger and we have Jess Carter and we have Bruninha. It's a privilege. It's difficult, but it's where where every coach wants to be. In a position where you have so many good players that the other day, for example, Jenna came in, changed the game. Bruna came in, changed the game, and they helped the team to win and to progress.
If you want to listen to the full Juan Carlos Amorós interview, which you totally should, it's so good, 20 minutes long. He talks about managing superstars, best advice he's been given, and what he'd be doing if he weren't coaching soccer. Go check it out on our YouTube page and as a podcast on Attacking Third, wherever you listen to your podcast. But he sets us up perfectly for In Case You Missed It and the nominees for NWSL Awards. We're talking about it next. In case you missed it, news and notes, Attacking Third, we've got you covered. The biggest breaking news this week is out of Canada Soccer. Head coach Bev Priestman, she will not return to Canada Soccer following the independent investigation into the drone scandal that occurred at the 2024 Paris Olympics. So it's Bev Priestman and her assistant coach Jasmine Mander and analyst Joseph Lombardi, who were found to have directed, approved, and condoned illegal filming of New Zealand's training. They did say that the players of the women's national team never did see that footage, but it's not too surprising, Darian, that Priestman, Mander, and Lombardi are not to be back coaching at Canada Soccer.
No, I'm shocked it took this long to make that announcement. I mean, the fact that we saw, it was in the news, we saw the emails, we saw the notes, like it's very clear they should not be involved with Canada Soccer. I feel for the players still that this is, I wish that this had just been done right after the Olympics so that we weren't still talking about it. These players didn't still have to hear about it and deal with it. That's heavy energy going into camps and the media asking them about it. So I'm shocked it wasn't done before. I'm glad it's over. And now they can just move on and really try to push past this.
And now also try to hire a new coach and new staff. There's a lot of hiring going on at Canada Soccer. In some very exciting NWSL news, the finalists for the 2024 NWSL Awards have been named. Let's start with the biggest and the baddest, MVP, Most Valuable Player. The nominees are Barbara Banda out of Orlando, Temwa Shawinga out of Kansas City, Orlando's Marta, Washington's Trinity Rodman, and Sophia Smith out of Portland Thorns. Sandra, are these the names you would have dropped for MVP candidates?
Yeah, I feel pretty comfortable with these. I think there's among the top 4 teams, you can make an argument for a number of players, but I think for what we saw in terms of regular, consistent performances throughout the season, this is where it's at. And I think there might be folks who are like, Sophia Smith, like, what is she doing there again? Which I would argue is a dumb argument because I think we're looking at a Portland Thorns side that struggled all season. And we saw how much they struggled without Soph Smith. And maybe there's the further argument that they're not even in the playoffs if she doesn't exist. And that's pretty MVP caliber to me. So I like this run of names for the finalists.
Okay, so who's going to win MVP, Sandra?
Temwa Chawinga. Yeah.
Lisa, why don't you go next? Who's going to win MVP?
I think it's going to be Barbara Banda, guys. She's going to win. She's going to go all the way. I have to ride or die.
You're going to die on this hill. And I wish we could just run the Vladko interview clips where he listed off every single Shawinga stat, defensively, offensively, how consistent she's been. She's never really injured just for safety protocols. Like, she has MVP down on lock. And I honestly like that you are rocking with Barbara Banda. I mean, either winning is great. 2 African players that are one's won the Golden Boot already. Another one is likely going to win MVP of 2024, breaking records. I love it, but it's going to be Shawinga. Sorry.
We'll talk when the awards and the winner is announced, guys. We're moving on from MVP. Defender of the Year nominees: San Diego's Naomi Girma, North Carolina's Kaylee Kurtz, Tara McKeown out of Washington, Orlando's Emily Sams, and Orlando's Kylie Strom. Do you like these noms, Darian?
I love these. I think these are great. You can't argue with any of them. I would say that Emily Sonnet from that interview you guys did with Juan Carlos, yes, should absolutely be in there. She's been one of the most consistent defenders throughout 2024, and also plays up in the midfield. Like, she definitely deserves to be in there. But I did think about that interview. It does work against them because they rotate so much. I think that could be an argument.
Sonnet's been one of the
most
consistent starters for Gotham this year because she's played in the midfield a bit. She's played in that center back role. I have to imagine
outside back at times.
Exactly. She's played everywhere. I have to imagine the Defender of the Year might go to one of the Orlando defenders, though, just considering how strong this defense was for Orlando all year. And Gotham doesn't have a nominee in this mix.
It's so cute that you guys think that these votes aren't going to come down to the finest of margins now that the voting is open. I mean, the fact that there's not just 1, but 2 Orlando players that might not split a vote there amongst players, coaches, and GMs. Mm-hmm. And then also with media as well. And then who are the fans going to vote for? It might come down to that vote. I think this is the award that actually might get an upset.
Oh, so who do you think will win it?
Naomi Girma, because I've seen this show before. I've seen this episode before. It's giving Casey Kruger, Becky Sauerbrunn 2019.
Wow.
I totally agree. That's actually what I have. And I think Emily Sams should be winning it.
Wow.
This is no knock to Girma in any sort of way. It's unfortunate San Diego had such a rough year. That does work against you. But I think Emily Sams, as the breakout year that she's had, is absolutely deserving of this award.
But but I think we're talking about like our reactions to the candidates. I think this is a good 5.
Yeah, for sure. Sandra, you teased it. Fans can vote. There's a link in our chat if you're with us live on YouTube. So go vote for who you think should win. Let's talk goalkeeper of the year quickly, though. Ann-Katrin Berger out of Gotham, Mandy Haught out of Utah, and Anna Morehouse out of Orlando. Sandra, who do you think is going to win? I know who Darian wins. So who do you think?
It's coming down to Morehouse and AKB for me. I think if I had to pick one, if I had to start someone in a championship final tomorrow, I think I'm leaning towards AKB.
Ooh.
Give me your case. Give me your case. Take it to the house, Darian.
I guess I would say Anna's been she's been there the entire season. Consistently has gelled so well with her back line. I think we've seen AKB make some mistakes playing out of the back against teams that didn't capitalize on it. I just feel Anna has been much more consistent and broken these records. I think her chemistry with her back line is a little more seamless than AKB. So I would say, I'm rocking with Anna regardless. I'll die on this hill. Should have worn my Anna Morehouse kit today. But yeah, I definitely have to go with Anna. 13 clean sheets, I think. And anytime she's talked about her getting awards or goalkeeper, whatever, she's credited her backline, said this should be named the Orlando Award, not the Anna Morehouse. So I think it's been very sweet to see her, especially opening up to the media more. I love this for her.
Yeah, that's
but I think it's going with Anna for sure. Lisa.
I think Anna Morehouse. I think AKB, she hadn't been here all season. She came into the mix. I think that plays a factor. She definitely changed the way Gotham was able to build out of the back and rely on her a little bit more. But I think Morehouse has been more consistent throughout the entirety of the year. And that's what I'm looking at when I'm voting for this. New nominees for midfielder of the year: Croy Bethune, the rookie out of Washington; Vanessa DiBernardo out of Kansas City; Lola Bonta, also out of Kansas City; Marta, her second nom, Orlando; and Ashley Sanchez out of North Carolina. Darian, who do you think for midfielder of the year?
I think Vanessa DiBernardo deserves this award. Do I think she's going to win it? No. I think it's going to go to Marta, which another player absolutely deserving of this award. Legend in the game, retired from international football. Orlando would be a completely team without her. This league, this world of women's football would be a completely different world without her. So yes, Marta is deserving, but I think Vanessa DiBernardo, as underrated as this player has always been, and the incredible season she's had, should win it.
Change the game for Casey.
Ditto.
I like that shout too, but votes could be split there again, as Sandra mentioned, with DiBernardo and Labonta both nominated for Kansas City. Rookie of the Year presented by Ally: Croy Bethune out of Washington, Claire Hutton out of Kansas City, and Allie Sentnor out of Utah. All very, very deserving. And despite getting injured, I still think Croy Bethune is going to run away with this Rookie of the Year. I do. She was too influential, breaking the assist record in such a minimal amount of games. What do you guys think? Rookie of the Year?
It's going
easily.
Croy.
Okay.
Shout
out to Claire Hutton and Allie Sentner.
I know, for sure. Great players. So this rookie class was good. Coach of the Year: Gotham's Juan Carlos Amorós, Kansas City's Vlatko Ananovsky, and Orlando's Seb Hines. This one, to me, is one of the hardest. Sandra, who do you have?
I got Seb Hines just because of everything they've achieved this year, but it really is a three-headed monster for me in this one.
Seba! For sure. Easily. First Black coach to win this. I think first Black coach to win the Shield, first Black coach to win Coach of the Year. I think he's going to do it and make history while he's at it.
I think Seb Hines should do it with all the records that he helped his team break this year. Their unbeaten streak that they went on. They win the Shield. I do think so, but hey, we'll see what happens there. You can vote, everyone. Fans can participate in the final round of voting. You must vote by November 15th at 3 p.m. Eastern, and the winners will be announced surrounding the NWSL Championship that is set for Saturday, November 23rd, 8 p.m. Eastern Time kickoff in Kansas City, and you can watch it on CBS. Tomorrow, we are back in studio, and you can watch tomorrow's episode, of course, on YouTube, listen as a podcast, but on Golazo Network, 2 p.m. Eastern. We're talking more about the awards, and we're giving a NWSL semifinal playoff preview. Thanks everyone so much for joining us. You can follow Attacking Third wherever you get your podcast. Leave us a 5-star rating and review, and you can watch us youtube.com/Attacking Third and on the Golazo Network. For Mark, Sandra, Darian, I'm Lisa. This was Attacking Third.